The signal reached every major world in the galaxy at the same moment. That IT was not a normal message. It was not a simple warning. It was a galaxy-wide emergency transmission sent through the Central Communication Network. The symbol of the Galactic Council appeared on every screen, every station, and every command room across known space. On Earth, the message appeared in public systems, military channels, and even private receivers. It interrupted news programs, trading systems, and space traffic control. For a few seconds, the whole planet paused. The broadcast opened with the image of the Galactic High Assembly. Bright lights filled a massive hall built from silver metal and floating platforms. Around the room sat leaders from many powerful species. Some had sharp eyes. Some had long limbs. Some had glowing skin. They were strong, advanced, and proud. At the center stood the council speaker, a tall alien with deep blue markings across his face. His voice was calm but firm. After full review of Earth's development, he announced, the species known as humans has been officially classified as a non-threatening species. A soft wave of laughter moved through the hall. On Earth, people watched quietly. The words were translated in real time. Scientists stopped typing. Soldiers stood still. Government leaders leaned forward. The speaker continued. Humans have shown limited interstellar travel. Their weapons are basic. Their technology is behind current standards. Their military presence does not pose a strategic risk. More laughter echoed from the assembly. A few alien leaders whispered to each other. Some smiled with confidence. One even shook his head, as if amused by the idea that humans were considered important in any way. The speaker raised one hand. Therefore, the Galactic Council gives Earth a formal notice. Humans must accept observation status under Council supervision. All independent military expansion must stop immediately. Failure to comply will result in enforcement action. The hall grew quiet for a moment. Then another leader stepped forward. His armor shone under the lights. "We have waited long enough for this planet to mature," he said with a smirk. "If they resist, it will not take long to correct their behavior." The word correct caused another round of laughter. On Earth, the transmission continued. The message included strict limits. Humans were ordered to freeze their space defense programs. They were told to share all research data. They were instructed to allow alien inspection teams on their surface within 30 planetary days. If humans refused, the Council would send a peace fleet. The term peace fleet was clearly understood by everyone watching. It meant war. The speaker ended the announcement with a final statement. Humans are advised to cooperate. Resistance would be unwise. The transmission ended. Silence filled the galaxy. On Earth, the reaction was not what many expected. There were no public panic scenes, no mass chaos, no loud global emergency broadcasts. Instead, most governments held immediate private meetings. Leaders from different nations connected through secure lines. In command centers, military officers reviewed the message carefully. Scientists analyzed the tone, the timing, and the structure of the transmission. Engineers checked for hidden signals. Inside the United Nations building, representatives from many countries listened to a full translation again. They spoke in low voices. No one shouted. One official asked quietly, "Are they serious?" Another replied, "Yes, they are very serious." But even with that confirmation, there was no fear in the room. Only focus. Across the planet, space agencies activated monitoring systems. Satellites adjusted positions. Defense networks ran background tests. Not a single alarm sounded. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council leaders were still talking among themselves in their own space. "They will accept," one said confidently. "They have no choice," another replied. The third leader laughed. "Their population is divided. Their resources are limited. They cannot stand against us." The idea of humans fighting back seemed impossible to them. For centuries, the Council had dealt with species that surrendered quickly. Most civilizations understood their place in the galaxy after one display of power. Earth looked small on their maps, a blue dot among thousands. To them, humans were just another young species trying to survive. Back on Earth, something unusual was happening. In cities, people returned to work. In homes, families discussed the message calmly. In military bases, orders were given without emotion. There were no dramatic speeches, no public threats. Instead, there was quiet coordination. Human leaders did not respond to the council immediately. They did not send angry replies. They did not show fear. They simply confirmed receipt of the transmission. That was all. This silence was noticed by some alien observers who were monitoring Earth's communication channels. They expected panic signals, emergency broadcasts, or requests for help from other species. Nothing like that appeared. One alien analyst reported. Earth shows no visible reaction. An officer replied, then they understand their position. But deep inside the council network, something was slightly unusual. Human defense systems had increased activity. Not loudly, not openly, but quietly. Data traffic between satellites had increased. Private channels between research stations had become more active. It was not aggressive movement. It was preparation. The aliens did not see it as important. To them, humans were still weak. The galactic leaders continued celebrating the announcement. Drinks were served. Conversations became relaxed. Plans for future control of Earth were discussed openly. Some suggested economic supervision. Others suggested resource sharing agreements. A few even proposed cultural integration. All of them believed Earth would comply. Meanwhile, on the surface of the blue planet, humans stayed calm. Too calm. There were no public protests. No signs of surrender. No signs of fear. Instead, there was steady focus in military rooms. Officers reviewed old contingency plans. In research labs, scientists prepared backup systems. In orbit, small defense platforms adjusted their positions silently. And one outside Earth noticed these changes. The galaxy continued to believe the same thing. Humans were non-threatening. The council had spoken, and in the eyes of most leaders across space, the matter was settled. But on Earth, behind closed doors and silent screens, humanity was not preparing to accept control. They were preparing to understand their enemy, and they were very good at understanding. The message had ended. The laughter had faded. Now the real question remained in the quiet space between stars. What would happen when the council realized they had misjudged Earth? For now, the galaxy believed the story was over, but Earth had not yet spoken. Rocket. The galaxy believed the warning was enough. The Galactic Council expected Earth to respond with fear, requests, or negotiation. Instead, 30 planetary days passed in silence. That surrender message arrived. Apology was sent. Request for supervision was made. From the outside, it looked like humans were doing nothing. But inside Earth systems, something was changing. The calm before action in orbit around Earth. Monitoring satellites continued their normal work. Alien observers watched through long-range sensors. They searched for signs of panic or military movement. They found none. Cities on Earth were active as usual. Traffic moved. Markets opened. Schools continued. News programs talked about the Council's announcement, but not with fear. With discussion. Some human leaders spoke publicly. They said Earth would remain independent. They said cooperation was possible, but control was not acceptable. Their tone was calm and firm. This surprised the galaxy. In most civilizations, leaders either begged or threatened when faced with a superior power. Humans did neither. They simply stated their position. Meanwhile, hidden beneath the surface of the planet, systems were waking up. Not visible systems. Not public ones. Old programs. Backup networks. Emergency protocols designed decades ago. They had names like Shield Horizon, Silent Watch, and Last On. These programs were not activated in response to anger. They were activated in response to strategy. The Outer Colony incident, the Council decided to test Earth's reaction. Without formal declaration, a small alien fleet moved toward one of Earth's distant research colonies located near a mining asteroid in deep space. It was a minor location, far from the main planet. The fleet was not large, just enough to send a message. Their goal was simple: show power. Force compliance. The aliens expected the colony to surrender immediately. Instead, something unexpected happened. As the fleet entered the outer system, their navigation signals began to distort. Their communication links became unstable. Their scanners showed interference. First, they assumed it was a technical issue. Then their engines slowed. Not stopped. Not destroyed. Slowed. The fleet commander reported confusion. Our systems are functioning, but response time has increased. Energy output is unstable. On Earth, no public alarm was triggered, but deep inside a secure command center, a quiet notification appeared. Outer defense protocol engaged. No speeches followed. No celebration occurred. Human operators simply confirmed the alert and continued monitoring. The human response, the alien fleet sent a demand to the outer colony. Submit and allow inspection. The response did not come from the colony. It came from Earth. A short message. Clear. Direct. Calm. Human territories are not open for forced entry. Withdraw immediately. The alien commander laughed when he read it. He believed it was a brave but meaningless statement. He ordered a controlled advance. That was the moment everything changed. The systems activate across the solar system. Hidden platforms emerge from stealth positions. They were not large warships in open space. They were defense nodes. Distributed systems. Coordinated intelligence networks. Human satellites that had looked ordinary suddenly changed behavior. Communication patterns shifted into synchronized mode. Energy signatures increased slightly, just enough to be detected by advanced sensors. The alien fleet noticed. One of their analysts spoke urgently. There is coordinated activity across the system. This is not random. Another officer frowned. But their visible military assets are minimal. That was the mistake. Humans had not placed all their strength in visible fleets. They had built layered defense architecture. Redundancy. Decentralization. The galaxy focused on large warships. Humans focused on survival. The first shock when the alien fleet attempted to fire a warning shot toward the colony. Their targeting systems failed. The weapons did not misfire. They did not explode. They simply refused to lock. Their guidance signals were overridden, not by brute force but by code. Human AI systems had quietly entered defensive mode. Instead of attacking, they created a protective field around the colony. Energy shields activated, debris, deflection grids deployed. The colony was now under invisible protection. The alien fleet tried to communicate with their central command. The message did not transmit. Their signals were blocked within the system boundary. They were isolated. For the first time, the fleet commander felt uncertainty. This was not how weaker civilizations behaved. Weak species reacted with fear. Humans reacted with structure. Earth remains silent back on Earth. The population was still calm. There were no public celebrations, no war announcements. Most citizens continued daily life, but inside military and scientific facilities, teams were working nonstop. Not with panic, with coordination. Data from the outer system was analyzed in real time. Strategic models updated. Contingency layers expanded. Earth was not escalating. Earth was preparing, and the galaxy had not yet realized it. The realization begins in the Galactic Council chambers. Reports started arriving. The outer fleet had lost communication inside the solar boundary. Sensors showed unexpected defensive networks. The speaker listened carefully. He asked one question. Did humans deploy new weapons? The analyst hesitated. No visible deployment. The systems appear to have been active long before our announcement. Silence filled the hall. For the first time, some leaders stopped smiling. That if humans had built hidden systems without detection, that meant one thing. They had expected conflict long before the council made its declaration. That thought spread slowly through the room. The laughter faded. A growing concern. The outer fleet was ordered to retreat slightly and observe. But as they attempted withdrawal, navigation interference continued. Not aggressive, just controlled. The fleet was not destroyed. It was being reminded. This system is not yours. Back on Earth, no victory speech was made. Global celebration occurred. Humans simply maintained their defensive posture. Calm, focused, patient. The galaxy had expected obedience. Instead, it had encountered quiet resistance. And for the first time since the emergency transmission, the council began to understand something uncomfortable. Earth was not reacting emotionally. Earth was reacting strategically. The mistake was no longer theoretical that IT was visible. And, somewhere in the vast silence between stars, the true scale of human preparation was beginning to reveal itself. The galaxy had declared humans weak. Now it was starting to wonder if that declaration had been premature. Rocket. The galaxy did not panic yet, but it started to pay attention. The outer fleet that approached Earth had expected a quick victory. Instead, they were forced to stop outside the solar system. Their signals were blocked. Their weapons were limited. Their communication lines were unstable. They had entered what looked like normal space, but it was not normal that IT was controlled. The quiet warning inside the Galactic Council. Reports were reviewed again and again. Analysts replayed sensor data. They zoomed in on small changes in energy patterns around Earth. What they found was disturbing. Human systems were not newly activated. They had been active for years. Hidden networks were already in place long before the Council's emergency transmission. This meant humans did not build defenses after being insulted. They had built them because they expected something like this to happen. One council member leaned back in silence. That planet was prepared, he said quietly, and one laughed this time. The moon base far from public view. Something moved near Earth's moon. From space, it looked like simple research stations and communication hubs. But deep inside the lunar surface, massive structures were powered on. These were not emergency weapons. They were long-term defense systems. Large energy cores activated. Orbital platforms adjusted their positions. Stealth fleets shifted from hidden storage zones. Not many ships, but extremely advanced ones. Human engineers had designed them to operate without being detected. They used silent propulsion. They used distributed command systems. There was no single center that could be destroyed to disable the whole defense. The galaxy had built strong central fleets. Humans had built resilient networks. The second attempt, the alien fleet outside the system tried a different approach. Instead of force, they attempted to send a diplomatic request, a formal message that IT demanded inspection rights and military transparency. This time, Earth responded. Not with anger, not with threats, with clarity. That a human transmission entered the Council network. IT was short and calm. Earth does not accept force supervision. Any further intrusion into human territory will be considered hostile action. The tone was steady, no emotion, just boundary. The council leaders read the message carefully. One of them smiled slightly. They're trying to sound strong, he said, but another leader looked uneasy. It is not a sound. It is a policy. That difference mattered. The fleet learned something new. The outer fleet made one more test. They sent a small probe into the solar system, but IT was designed to scan defenses and return. The probe entered carefully. IT moved slowly. Within minutes, its data stream changed. Not destroyed, not jammed, redirected. The probe began sending updated information, but not to its fleet. IT was being rerouted. Human systems had taken control of the signal. The probe was now transmitting detailed information about alien fleet structure, communication patterns, and energy signatures. The fleet realized too late. Their own technology was being studied in real time. One officer whispered, "They are mapping us." This time, there was no laughter in response. Earth's true behavior. What confused the galaxy most was this. Humans were not attacking. They were not expanding. They were not threatening. They were only defending. Every action taken by Earth was reactive, not aggressive. Shield systems activated only when needed. Communication blocks only targeted intruders. Alien world had been attacked. Fleet had been hunted. Earth remained inside its system boundary, quiet but ready. This calm behavior made the Council uneasy. Weak species usually showed fear. Strong, aggressive species showed expansion. Humans showed restraint. Restraint with preparation is dangerous. The psychological shift inside the council chamber, conversations changed tone. Some leaders began questioning the original classification. One analyst presented data showing Earth's industrial growth. Another showed energy production statistics. Another highlighted their rapid technological progress in the last century. The conclusion was clear. Humans developed extremely fast compared to most species, and they did it without outside assistance. That fact alone suggested something important. Human growth was self-driven, independent. Adaptable that a species that learns quickly in isolation can become unpredictable. The first real doubt, the speaker reviewed the situation carefully. He looked at reports from the outer fleet. He looked at defense interference patterns. He looked at human communications. Then he asked a new question. What is their maximum capability? The analyst hesitated. We do not know. That answer created silence in the room. For the first time, the Galactic Council did not fully understand the species they had labeled. Humans had not revealed their full strength. They had only revealed enough to protect themselves. That was not weakness. That was strategy. Earth's message to the galaxy later that day. Another human broadcast was sent. This time, it was not defensive. It was informational. It explained that Earth valued peace, trade, and cooperation, but also clearly stated that independence was non-negotiable. The tone was respectful, but firm. The galaxy now faced a new reality that if they wanted access to Earth, they would need agreement, not control. The growing tension outside the solar system, the alien fleet remained in observation mode. They were not defeated, but they were not advancing either. They had expected Earth to collapse under pressure. Instead, they found themselves uncertain. And uncertainty is dangerous in space politics, because when one side does not show its full power, the other side must assume the worst. The Council began to understand something slowly. They had not started a simple diplomatic dispute. They may have triggered a long-prepared defensive response. And if humans truly believed survival required preparation, then this was only the beginning. The galaxy had declared Earth non-threatening. But now, for the first time, it was asking a serious question. If humans are not threatening, then why are they so ready? Rocket. The galaxy expected Earth to relax after showing its defenses. Instead, humanity did something different. They did not increase aggression. They did not send fleets forward. They did not threaten. They simply improved their readiness. The Council's new decision inside the Galactic Council, tension was rising. Some leaders wanted to send a larger fleet to force compliance. Others advised caution. The speaker listened to both sides carefully. Finally, a decision was made that a second fleet would be deployed. This one would be much larger. IT would not attack immediately. It would demonstrate power. It would show Earth the true scale of the Council's strength. The goal was not destruction. The goal was control. Earth detects the movement. Human monitoring systems detected the fleet before it entered the outer system. There was no panic. Instead, alerts appeared in secure command rooms across the planet. Data flowed in silently. Fleet size, energy signatures, weapon types, formation pattern. Human analysts studied everything carefully, and dramatic speeches were made that a simple order was given. Activate Layer 2. The second layer of the galaxy did not know that Earth had multiple defense layers. Layer 1 had protected the outer colony. Layer 2 was different. That IT included orbital defense grids, hidden lunar platforms, and distributed satellite weapon systems. That IT also included something even more important: artificial intelligence coordination. Human AI networks were not designed for attack. They were designed for survival optimization. They could predict fleet movement patterns. They could simulate thousands of outcomes in seconds. They could adjust defensive positioning in real time. When a larger alien fleet moved closer, human systems began subtle repositioning in explosions, in visible movement. Just silent preparation. The fleet enters the system. The second fleet crossed into the solar boundary. This time, they expected interference. They were ready for it. But what they were not ready for was precision. As soon as they entered, human systems did not jam them. They did not block them immediately. Instead, they allowed controlled movement deeper into the system. This made the aliens confident. They believed Earth was hesitant. But in reality, Earth was collecting data. Every ship position was recorded. Every energy output measured. Every command analyzed. Humans were mapping the entire fleet structure in detail. The Council did not notice this shift. They thought they were advancing. They did not realize they were being studied. The sudden shutdown once the fleet reached a calculated position. Human systems activated phase 2. Not weapons. Coordination. Communication within the alien fleet began to fail. Not because of destruction, because of interference from synchronized human satellite networks. Signals between ships slowed. Navigation systems experienced delays. Not complete failure, just enough disruption to break formation alignment. The fleet's tight structure loosened, and in space warfare, formation is everything. A strategic message Earth sent another transmission. This one was calm, but direct. You have entered human defensive space. Your movement is monitored. Withdraw peacefully. The message included no threats, no insults, just clarity. The alien fleet commander felt frustration growing. He reported to the council. They are not attacking us. They are controlling the environment. That statement changed everything, because it meant Earth had the ability to influence fleet behavior without firing a single shot. The council's reaction in the council chamber, discussions became serious. Some leaders began to realize that humans were not acting like a young species. They were acting like a civilization that had prepared for survival for a very long time. Point one analyst presented historical human data. Humanity had survived wars among themselves for centuries. They had rebuilt after disasters repeatedly. They had advanced technology rapidly. They had shown strong cooperation during global crises. This pattern suggested resilience. Resilient species are difficult to dominate. Earth's internal unity inside human territory. Something important was happening. Nations were cooperating more closely than ever. Military systems from different countries were now integrated under shared defense protocols. Scientific institutions were sharing research data across borders. For the first time in history, global coordination was nearly seamless. The alien threat had unified humanity, not through fear, through awareness. The fleet's realization as the Second Fleet attempted to adjust, they discovered something troubling. Their internal communications were partially accessible. Human systems had not hacked them in a destructive way. They had simply mirrored communication signals for analysis. This allowed Earth to understand fleet structure without revealing its own weaknesses. The fleet commander finally reported to the council. They are not reacting emotionally. They are operating strategically. Silence followed. The shift in power perception. The Galactic Council had believed Earth would collapse under pressure. Instead, Earth had responded with layered defense, data collection, and controlled system management. The galaxy had prepared for a short demonstration of power. Instead, they were facing a civilization that understood long-term strategy. Humans were not the strongest species in the galaxy, but they were proving something important. They were extremely difficult to intimidate, and intimidation was the Council's usual tool. Now, it was losing effectiveness. The growing question back in the council chamber, the speaker leaned forward. For the first time, he did not smile. He asked quietly, if this is their defensive capability, what happens if they decide to activate full response? No one answered immediately, because no one knew the answer. Outside the solar system, the fleet remained in a controlled standoff. Inside the system, human defenses stayed active but restrained. Both sides were watching. Both sides were calculating, and neither side had fired a single full weapon. But the balance had shifted. The galaxy had expected obedience. Instead, it had discovered preparation. And preparation, when combined with patience, can change the future of an entire civilization. Rocket. The standoff continued for several days. The larger alien fleet remained inside the outer regions of the solar system, unable to move freely, unable to form perfect attack patterns, and unable to regain full communication stability. They were not destroyed, they were not defeated, but they were controlled, and that was something the Galactic Council had not experienced before. Pressure from the Council inside the Council chamber, opinions were dividing. Some leaders felt Earth was becoming a serious, strategic threat. Others argued that humans were only defending their home. The speaker requested a full military assessment. The conclusion was uncomfortable that if the Council attempted a direct assault, human systems would respond immediately with Layer 3 protocols, and no one outside Earth knew what Layer 3 contained. That uncertainty created hesitation. In galactic politics, hesitation can feel like weakness. The human decision on Earth, leaders reviewed the situation carefully. They had achieved their first goal, protect the system without firing offensively. But human intelligence agencies now confirmed something important. The alien fleet was preparing for escalation. That meant Earth had to decide its next move, not emotional reaction, strategic response. After long internal discussions, a coordinated decision was made. Earth would reveal one controlled demonstration, not to attack, but to send a clear message. The demonstration begins across the solar system. Hidden platforms shifted into synchronized alignment. Energy readings slowly increased, not dramatically, just enough to be noticed by advanced sensors. The alien fleet detected the change immediately. Point one officer reported. Energy levels are rising across multiple points. The fleet commander ordered defensive positioning that he believed Earth was preparing an attack. But that was not the intention. Instead, something unexpected happened. Human systems projected a large-scale holographic map into space near the fleet. That IT was not a weapon display. That IT was a system overview. The entire defensive network of the solar system appeared as a structured diagram. Every satellite, every shield node, every communication relay. The fleet saw something shocking. Human defenses were not centralized. They were distributed in layers that covered every possible approach vector. And the diagram included one final line: full activation capacity available. The message was clear. Earth had not used its full capability yet. The emotional shift in the council back in the Galactic Council chamber, the holographic data feed displayed the same projections sent near the fleet. Leaders studied it in silence. Point one analyst spoke carefully. They are showing restraint, not weakness, another replied. If they wished to destroy the fleet, they could have attempted it already. The speaker nodded slowly. For the first time, he considered that humans might not be reacting to fear. They might be reacting to principle. That was different. Principled civilizations are harder to predict. The fleet's condition, meanwhile, inside the solar system, the alien fleet was struggling. Not because of damage, but because of psychological pressure. Their systems were intact, but their confidence was weakening. They had expected an easy expansion. Instead, they faced a civilization that did not. Panic. The fleet commander requested permission to retreat temporarily for reassessment. The council approved it. The fleet slowly began withdrawing from deeper system regions. Human defenses did not chase them. An attack was launched. Earth simply observed humanity's message. After the fleet moved back to the outer boundary, Earth sent a final message for the day. IT was simple. Humanity seeks peaceful cooperation. However, any attempt to impose control will be met with full defensive response. We prefer dialogue. The tone was not aggressive, but it was final. There was no ambiguity. The galaxy had now learned something important. Earth could defend itself effectively, and Earth was not intimidated by large fleets. The Council's realization inside the chamber, discussions became quieter. The earlier laughter felt distant now. Point one leader finally said what many were thinking. We assumed they were unprepared. Another replied, we misjudged their development cycle. The speaker remained silent for a long time. Then he made a statement that changed the political direction of the council. Until we understand their full capability, further escalation is suspended. That decision shocked several members, but no one openly opposed it, because no one could confidently guarantee victory. Earth returns to routine on Earth. Daily life continued. People returned to work, schools, research, and space programs. The global defense network remained active, but did not expand further. Human leaders did not celebrate. They understood something important. The situation was not over. IT was only stabilized. That a new reputation begins across the galaxy. Reports spread quickly. The species called humans had stopped 2 fleets without firing a full offensive strike. They had demonstrated layered defense, system-wide coordination, and advanced AI integration. Other civilizations began updating their classifications. Humans were no longer labeled non-threatening by default. They were now marked as high-resilient strategic species. That title carried weight, because resilient species survive long conflicts, and survival-focused civilizations often become powerful over time. The silent question in the council chamber, the speaker looked at the data one final time before ending the session. The outer fleet had withdrawn. Earth remained calm. And aggression N-O expansion. Only readiness that he asked quietly. If humans had wanted to dominate, would we have noticed earlier? No one answered. Because the truth was uncomfortable. The galaxy had approached Earth assuming superiority. Instead, it had encountered a species that had prepared carefully for survival long before anyone challenged them. The war had not started, but something had changed: respect. And in galactic history, respect often follows strength. The next move would not come from anger, it would come from understanding. And both sides now knew one thing clearly. Earth was no longer an unknown planet, that it was a calculated presence in the galaxy, and the story was far from finished. Rocket,